A new era in Broncos country? The Zach Wilson era, and no better people to talk about this than James Palmer, Todd Davis. We got Alyssa behind the camera, and yours truly rocking and rolling with you today. Fellas, how's day one of Zach Wilson era treating you?
It's good, man. Crisp day, Todd. Nice.
We went Wilson for Wilson?
Yeah, seriously. If only Will Lutz didn't take number 3.
Here's the thing, but like, has he officially taken 3? I got a lot of crap on Twitter for this because I was like, the sales department could be the real winner in this. Like, take that net loss that was happening with all those Russell Wilson jerseys, make them into Zach Wilson jerseys. I know they changed, the look of the uniforms, but you still got to sell those.
Yep.
And they'd be a little bit more viable. And everybody was all over me like, Will Lutz has number 3. But I'm like, if you go on the Broncos website, he doesn't have 3.
Yeah?
He doesn't have a number.
Who would win that? If like they're both
and that was my
competing?
other point. I was like, if a quarterback comes in, even if he's like a third-year fail, Todd would know a locker room better than me. Like a third year hasn't gone real well, but a former number 2 overall pick quarterback comes into the room, and a kicker returns and changes numbers to that number. Who gets the number?
Question.
In this case, I would probably say the kicker. Because I
He
think
is
in
a Sean
everybody's
guy
eyes,
for a long time.
Yeah.
and he is going to be on the field. Like when it's time to make kicks, we know we're not
he's
sure
playing.
if if it's going to work out to where Zach Wilson is actually the starter. So I think because of that, I think the kicker will probably win that battle.
And you don't think there's any chance that Zach Wilson trumps Pat Surtain for that number 2?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think that's happening. I think he wore 1 before, didn't he?
Yep. Who is
One's
it's
is one
Tremont
available?
Smith
Tremont Smith?
right
Okay.
now. Now, you can ask a pretty similar question. Does a special team, pretty much a pure special teams player or a backup quarterback come in? I'd probably assume it's still the veteran special teamer.
No, I'll probably give it to
Okay,
him.
that's when the quarterback
At
gets
least
it?
they'll let him
Todd's
buy it
line.
from him or something. Yeah.
But we don't know what Zach wants coming in. Maybe he wants like fresh start, nothing I've ever had before, a new look. We don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, and
You know?
what does Zach bring? When you saw he was traded to the Broncos yesterday, Todd, what was your initial reaction?
Honest reaction, I was shocked.
Yes.
Very shocked because, we talked about quarterback for a long time at number 12, and I thought that's what we were going. And we still could, but this definitely changes the game. Now we have 2 quarterbacks that we're playing roughly $5 million apiece. Something has to happen there, or at least somebody has to compete for a starting job. You don't know. But I was shocked. I wouldn't say I was impressed by what he did in New York. So for him to come here, it's not really like a joyous moment. But I think, sometimes new situations help people. There's a guy at my gym today, and he's Chinese, and he was talking about in the Chinese culture, changing your colors. Sometimes is like a good omen for success. So he was saying changing from like green and white to like orange and blue was like supposed to be a good omen. So who knows?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Got good vibes on
Good
their
vibes,
side.
maybe, yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it. Hey, man, it's like right now, Todd, it's like anything. Like, I'll listen to anything. Yeah, that sounds great. I was like intrigued when you were like, I was at the gym. I was like, tell me more, Todd. Tell me more. What happened? I love this. This has been like a rumor for months. And it's been something that the Broncos have kind of just been like monitoring to see. That's one of our possibilities. Remember when Sean was at the owners' meetings and he was like, there's still veteran options available. This is one of the ones he was kind of thinking of and kind of mulling over if this was a possibility. So in some NFL circles, it was just everybody's kind of waiting when this would possibly happen because you knew he was going to get no longer be with the Jets. That was just not going to happen. Yeah. But they didn't really want to release him. They wanted to get something for him. So he joins the rest of his draft class in getting traded for like a sixth or 7th round pick with Mac Jones and Justin Fields and Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
it's
we
hard to even remember
those are
their
all
names.
the first rounders, guys. And remember, it went 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks in that one as well. And so that was what? That was 5 quarterbacks in that draft class. I think we'll have 5, possibly 6 this year. We can get to it in the first round from calling around. But with Zach, you're paying half of what he's owed this year, and Jarrett's making like what, 5? So like your quarterback room's not overly expensive. I pulled out this tweet I had earlier because I had a conversation.
The record-breaking dead cap.
Yes, the
from Russ.
record-breaking dead cap does play a part, but that's not, I guess, in your quarterback room. It's in somebody else's quarterback room. But I had a conversation with John Beck a few weeks ago because he trains everybody, right? Like, I think when we talked, like, C.J. Stroud was just walking out and Jalen Hurts was walking in. I mean, everybody, he works with Dak. He works, and the reason I was talking to him was he works with Penix, Jayden Daniels, and JJ McCarthy. He works with all of them this offseason. He also works with Zach. So I asked him kind of, what do you think is best for Zach? And this is before, obviously, weeks before this trade happened. And I thought it was interesting where he was like, a lot of times, and he played quarterback in the league, like he's like, a lot of times things just don't work out. Like, and it's not the coach's fault. It's not the player's fault. They just don't work out for a variety of reasons. Doesn't mean the coaches are bad. Doesn't mean the player's not talented. Just a bad situation. I think that was a hard situation for Zach Wilson from Utah.
Yep. BYU.
Yeah,
Yep.
but no, I know, but I think he's from Utah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
From Utah to go to New York City and try to salvage an organization that has been in like just desperate times for an eternity.
Yeah.
And go into that media market and save it with the little college play he had and all these things. Doesn't mean he's not talented, just bad situation, thrown into it right away. Changes offensive coordinators from his second to third year. A lot of different things happen. And John was like, he's a pretty gritty dude, man. Like when things go wrong, he usually like learns from those issues. So that could be a positive out of this. He was like, I think a change of scenery would be the absolute best for him in a situation to where he is groomed and has somebody that can help him grow. I think Sean is probably both of those. These are all the things I wanted to get out that just John told me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean like this is going to work.
Right.
This dude still started 33 games in the
Yeah.
NFL. Doesn't mean he's going to become amazing, but there is still talent there. There was a reason he was picked second overall. So all of this is the risk crazy? Not for the price you paid. What I think it is telling, I think it tells what the Broncos making their phone calls this week, as everybody's making their calls. Howie Roseman's calling every single team on the draft board because that's what he does, and he's all the way down there at like 22 to figure out his trades. So everybody's making their calls. I think this move kind of tells me George Payton has made a lot of his calls, and as aggressive as we say we will be, and I think they will be, and they will try to go up for their guy, it may not be possible. And I think they're finding out, like, as hard as we want to go after player X, we're in a group of maybe 3 teams that also want that guy. Can we get up and get it? It's not looking real likely. Maybe we should give ourselves the insurance policy now and just make sure we're somewhat protected. I feel like that's a little bit, it doesn't change their plans with the draft.
Okay.
I think it might be a little bit telling on what they think is realistic in the draft.
Man, when you were talking, James, I just went through a roller coaster of emotions there.
Yeah,
because
there's a lot there. I kind of went on for a while.
You did
Sorry.
know it. It's so much information that's really good because for me, I was pretty heated when we talked about this for the first time yesterday. And if the expectations on Zach Wilson are right, then I'm totally okay with this move. And what I mean by the expectations on Zach Wilson being right, what the Broncos just did was they traded less than a 7th round pick for Zach Wilson. You can't, for giving something up for a player, you can't give up less. That's in terms of the draft value chart, they gave up like a third of the value of a 7th round pick for Zach Wilson. So they gave up nothing. The Jets are paying half of his $5.5 million training camp bonus. The Broncos are paying half. So the Broncos are on the hook for $275. Not that much, just above the veteran minimum. So the investment is so little. And if you're going to make an investment like that in the quarterback position, that changes nothing. It should change absolutely nothing in terms of how you view like quarterback 1. And if that's going out and getting them in the draft. So I hope it doesn't change the way they approach it. I
don't think it does at all. I think they know who they like, and I think I think they know who they want to go after. I'm just saying there might be the case, and you could look into this move saying they're going, man, we're making the calls, and New England wants a haul for 3, and that's only when they go on the clock. Like a lot of these deals are only going to happen when they go on the clock. They need to find out who Washington takes. Most of the people I've talked to around the league think it's Jayden Daniels, but that means they'd wind up with Drake Maye, essentially. If it's flipped and they don't want Jayden Daniels, then they're like, all right, we're open for business, and they're looking for a lot. There's a lot of different things that move around in terms of what's asking. All these GMs are finding out what the asking price is right now. So George Payton and Sean Payton might just be looking at it going, we're still going to be aggressive. We're still going to try to go after this guy, but we know we're competing with these 3 other teams, or we're competing with Minnesota. We're competing with, who knows, the Raiders trying to come up. There's a lot of people that are talking about Seattle might want to try to come up quietly.
For a quarterback?
There's some they're behind them. But there's some talk that like New Orleans would be interested in a quarterback in the first round. That it's time to maybe like make sure we're protected from Derek Carr. Like we're not totally in love. Maybe down the road, next year. So there's other teams that are interested. So you're thinking we got to battle these other teams. Let's make sure we have another plan in place as well. Because guess what happens? Say Zach Wilson wins the job. Say he gets better and plays better with Sean Payton. But it's still not great. And Sean has a good evaluation. He looked at it pretty quickly with Russell Wilson. This isn't going to work his work. They're in the same situation they are for next year's draft.
Yeah.
And they could be looking for a quarterback again, and they didn't give up too much. So it doesn't really hurt them in that sense, I mean.
Right.
But it does make you think, though, because, everybody thought that Stidham was, Sean Payton's guy.
Yeah.
And then he went and got insurance. It's kind of like when you go to the get a rental car. You never pick insurance. You always use your own. Insurance. You know what I'm saying? But if you have your own insurance and you choose not to use it, that means you're a little faulty. You're not sure.
Yeah.
So does that mean that Stidham could be out the door very quickly with a new quarterback, and then it's Zach Wilson's the backup? I don't know, but it was a lot of talk that Stidham potentially was Sean's guy, and they could potentially go another direction at 12 because they trusted in Stidham. And I think this shows maybe they don't trust Stidham as much.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, Jarrett Stidham, Sean spoke so highly of Stidham when they signed him last year, spoke highly of him in training camp, spoke so highly of him when they benched Russell Wilson, was talking about how we think Jarrett, this wasn't about the future of Russ, although clearly it was, but it's about we think Jarrett can give us a spark these final 2 games. Since then, since the season's ended, I don't think Sean Payton has brought up Jarrett Stidham's name once in terms of like saying, I believe in him. I think he can be the guy moving forward. So I do think that things have changed with Sean, and he took that 2-game sample size and maybe didn't fully make his decision, but said, maybe I was a little bit wrong on him. And with Stidham, he's $7 million cap hit this year, only $2 million in dead money. So they could save $5 million by moving on from him in terms of cap.
I love Todd's analogy. That was like one of my favorite things I've heard in a while. That was fantastic. And then I started thinking of like Groundhog Day when he runs into Ned Ryerson. And he's like, this guy went and got flood and fire, and he adds all the insurance policies he got. I'm like, maybe Sean's just adding all the insurance he can do. But I do think this is you could look at it and go, what's wrong with a former number 2 overall pick 3 years into the league, has talent to be the number 2 overall pick as your backup right now for $2.7 million? Like you look at some of the names that flew off the board in the early portion of free agency and the numbers that those guys were getting, that's more than you wanted to pay.
Yeah,
so you got this, $8 to $10 million for a lot of those guys. And you got to remember, most of these teams are looking at it going, look at what happened around the league. More quarterbacks played last year than any other year, I believe, in the history of the NFL. You're probably going to play 2 guys. You might play 3 guys. If you're the Browns, they played 4 guys. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to have him in the room and see if something's there. Hey, Sean thinks very highly of his ability to develop talent at the quarterback position. See what happens. But again, like to circle this back to the draft, I don't think it changes their draft plans whatsoever. I don't know how signing a right now, you would say your backup quarterback, right, Todd? Like a year in the system for Jarrett Stidham, knowing it. Like you would say Zach Wilson's coming in behind Jarrett Stidham. Getting a backup for $2.7 million, I don't think changes your draft plans at 12 at all.
Yeah, and it follows the Walmart model. Great value, and that's what they did there.
Hey, like there's no quarterbacks in this draft. When I say that, after these like first 7, I don't know if another quarterback will get taken in the draft. Like, it might be like quarterbacks in rounds. I mean, there's going to be 5, some people say 6 in the first round. Then you have like maybe 3 more guys or 2 more guys.
Yeah.
The late round quarterback is probably not getting picked this year. That may not have one.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams think of the philosophy like pick a quarterback every year. Like some teams think that way. Take a corner every year, take a tackle every year, take an edge every year, and if you want to, take a quarterback in the 7th round.
Yeah.
Some teams think that way. Well, you got that quarterback that you were thinking about getting if you don't get one at 12.
Yep, and here's how it was explained to me by someone in the Broncos building. They said you get a 7th round quarterback with an upside of a 1st round quarterback. Why not? He's not the starter. That's how it was explained to me. Like initially, he's not the starter, and I just thought that was a great way of looking at it. Kind of calmed me down because they're not planning on him being that number 2 overall pick, which of course you can't. After 33 starts and he has more interceptions than touchdowns, he has a below 60% completion. I think his pass ratings is 73, so very, very low risk. Very low risk.
He came in here and beat the Broncos.
Sure did.
Where was that game?
He has
I did that game.
Sure did.
his stats against the Broncos are mind-blowing, and let me tell you about them after I tell you about our friends over at Circa Sportsbook. We talk about great values. If you want great values on betting, check out our friends over at Circa Sportsbook because they are all about giving you the best lines. Many other sportsbooks go to like -115, -120 on bets. They strive to be at -110 on every bet, which means you get more money for your bets in return. They also have high app limits. They're transparent about what they do. It's real people behind the scenes setting the lines at Circa, so that's why they're able to deliver these things for you. So if you want to get in on the action, bet on the Nuggets to sweep the Lakers now. If you got in last night at halftime, oh man, you got the Nuggets at some good plus money. You took that plus 7.5 at halftime for the Nuggets. Easy money. Head to Circa Sportsbook. Download the app at circasports.com. And you must be physically located in the state of Colorado. Must be 21 and older. All rights reserved. Circa Sportsbook encourages you to gamble responsibly. And if you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER or visit problemgamblingcolorado.org.
And shout out to our friends over at Toyota. We have partnered with the Front Range Toyota stores, and we are here at the Toyota Lounge, and it's never been better. We love Toyota here, and we definitely love, of course, the 4Runner, the Land Cruiser. The thing I like about the 4Runner is like they redid it, but they kept it true, like to the iconic 4Runner that we all love. They updated the interior, still have the window in the back that rolls down for ventilation. I know 420 pass. 420 pass, but it's definitely good for a little bit of ventilation. And if you visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you, you got Auto Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Okay, when this stat just bummed me out so much in every single way. Zach Wilson, in his 3 games against the Broncos, guess how many touchdowns? Total touchdowns. Passing,
in 3
running,
games?
in 3 games. Yep.
Say 12.
12.
4.
That's a lot.
James, you have 4 more than he actually had. 0 touchdowns. Passing, rushing, 0. 3 interceptions, 62% completion. Not bad. 160 passing yards in a 6 per game and a 62 passer rating.
That was
about
against us?
Yeah, in the 3 games.
Well.
That's about as bad as it can get. He went 2-1 against the Broncos in those games. Like all of that was just like, how?
Yeah.
How does this happen?
He didn't do anything in that last game.
Yeah.
When the Jets were going on that little run, it was like they were kind of handcuffing him, going like, just don't screw up.
Yeah.
Don't turn the ball over. And there was that little mini run. Remember the Jets went on? They were like, oh, maybe we can.
Yeah.
That locker room was crazy. I was in it here in Denver, and they were all super stoked, obviously, for Hackett
Yeah.
and everything that went down.
that
But it was
too.
kind of like, I will say this, they were kind of behind Zach in that room. If that tells you anything, like, I mean, he's not a disliked guy by any stretch. It's what I've always been told around the league is like the dude he just struggles with the layups. Like he struggles with the easy balls. Like make the easy reads, make the easy plays. Let's see if Sean can do something with that. But maybe Sean also at times like I don't want you to go out there and do a whole boatload.
Yeah.
I need you to play within what I want you to play within. And maybe that'll be better for him. I don't know. I mean, I think he's probably the best offensive coach he's had in the league, and
Without
that's
a
pretty
doubt.
easy
Yep.
to assess. So we'll see. But again, I don't think it's a terrible move when there's that much talent.
Right, and I think with talking about Zach Wilson's personality, I think that's going to mesh very well with Sean Payton as well. I think those two guys are going to get along. Where I think
Why?
from a because I don't think when you look at Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, it was pretty obvious that those two just
did not
it
get
wasn't
along.
going to be a match made in heaven. And I think Zach Wilson will get along better and be able to see more eye to eye with Sean.
I think you are getting a player that's like, this might be it, and I'm 3 years into the league.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever. And I know Russ kind of had that, but there's a lot less that is attached to Zach Wilson that's attached to Russell Wilson in terms of I'll be here every day, coach. Tell me what you need. He's 3 years in the league. Russ has a brand, and it was kind of like, were they if they're all work on your body, is that an entourage? No.
Yeah, I mean, they all
his
do
team,
something. Yeah,
his entourage body team, all these different things that were there. I mean, I think Zach's just going to come in and do whatever Sean wants, and that might be best for both of them, honestly. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of pushback from Zach when Sean tells him this is what's best for you.
Yeah, I certainly don't think so. So I don't think it changes. I'm hoping it doesn't change the Broncos' plans entering the draft at all. I hope if they were going to trade everything to go get a quarterback, that they still do that. If they were going to wait at 12 and be patient for a quarterback to fall to them, they do that. And let's say their plan was Spencer Rattler the whole time. We heard Sean come out and say that he evaluates quarterbacks differently than the rest of the NFL. And if that was a third-round quarterback, if it is Spencer Rattler, then have it still be Spencer Rattler, and then we'll kind of go from there. But, Todd, you seem like it might change the way that you think the Broncos approach the draft a little bit.
I do. I think James put it in like good perspective. Like, they're calling around and seeing that it may be too expensive to move up. So it's an insurance policy, but nevertheless, I think they look at him with the upside of a first-round draft pick. And for me, I just can't point to a lot of names where a quarterback had this much opportunity and went to another place and then did better. Like, I can't think of one guy.
I was trying to think the same thing.
Yeah.
I was doing the same thing.
Kay Adams had this amazing stat today when talking about Zach and the Broncos. And she did say, like, if anyone's going to be able to turn him around, I think, like all of us have said, it's Sean Payton. But she said there's been 3 first-round quarterbacks that have switched teams and led a different team to the playoffs.
Geno Smith?
Nope.
So did they lead the first team to the playoffs too?
That wasn't part of the stat.
Okay.
So that's not
Oh,
that's
well,
not
like
part of the stipulation.
if Peyton Manning would be one. He's
Okay,
a first
then
round pick that led another
then
team
maybe
to the
you're right.
postseason.
Who didn't lead his first team? Because
Okay.
you're right. It has to be that.
Oh
then.
my God!
Yeah.
I don't know the validity of any of this. Your details
This
are
one's
sketchy.
coming from This one's
Parameters
coming
are
from
all
Kay
over the
Adams,
place.
And I was trying to give her credit in a good way here.
I think you need to reset the question for Todd and I.
Okay.
Okay.
Did not lead
The first team.
their first team to the playoffs. Once they moved on from them, they led their next team to the playoffs.
Baker Mayfield.
That's one. Yep.
That's a good one.
Yep. One semi-recently, too.
Oh, semi-recently? Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. What year do you know?
In the past 5? Tennessee Titans.
Oh, Tannehill?
Tannehill. Yep. That's 2. And then the other one. I don't know.
Tannehill might be like a decent example because like it was not good in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not good, and he had a decent run.
So is Derrick Henry coming here too or no?
That'd be nice.
Because without Derrick Henry, he's not making
That's
the
a great
playoffs.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you're right because I will say this: it was a tremendous coaching job by Arthur Smith. It was like play action, pick the spots for a great play action
Yep.
off of Derrick Henry, and Ryan, I need you to make these like 9 throws a game.
Yeah. And
to
literally be-
AJ Brown,
Yeah.
who was going to
Yeah,
outmuscle
it's so
anybody
true.
out there. They had that nice little run, right? Yeah, with a good defense and yeah. There's a third one.
There's a third. Giants. Not recent. You definitely know his name, but I wouldn't have been able to get this. Not even close.
You can just say it.
Kerry Collins.
Oh,
So there's
Kerry
only been
Collins.
3. So to your point, Todd, like it has happened last year. It did happen a couple of years ago with Ryan Tannehill, but there's only 3 times you can point to. And that's for me why like this better not change your plans. Maybe he can be the next Baker Mayfield. And we heard Sean talk about this. Like, I think it was at the Super Bowl when he was talking to someone. He said, everyone's looking. If you don't have a quarterback, everyone's looking for the next Baker Mayfield, the guy who has talent that you can bring in and turn around. And during the Super Bowl week, he even pointed to Zach Wilson being potentially one of those guys.
Yeah.
So I don't mind bringing
Geno
him
was
in.
just in the second round. That's why I was wrong.
Oh,
Because Geno is
yeah.
a good example of somebody finding
100%.
success
Yeah,
after
for sure.
being a starter real early in your career. He's the 39th pick. So
And then being completely counted out. At
yeah,
least like
I mean, he was written off by
Yeah,
everybody.
100%.
It's probably maybe the best example of being written off. I don't know. Baker's probably the best example. I mean, the
Yeah,
dude
he
just
was really-
played on like 9 teams in 6 months, and
I mean,
Yeah.
the Broncos could have picked him up. When was it? 2022.
he went to the Rams and
When
like
he
won
just-
a game in 1 week while he was there.
Yeah, but literally, like he had 2 days to prepare because it was a Thursday night game or
Yeah.
something. So yeah, I mean, people are looking for the next Baker, but to your point, Todd, it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I love that we found 3 that did it, but I guarantee there's maybe thousands, or at least 1,000 players who switched teams. I mean, look at you look at the drafts that we've been talking about.
We were just talking about 2021.
Yeah, and then the draft before that with quarterback from Jacksonville.
Well, Jacksonville was in that one.
That's that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when Trevor,
that was a bad draft.
Yeah, that was not. That's 5 quarterbacks. One of them is getting a second contract with the team that drafted him.
Yep.
One.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3, 11, and 15.
That was supposed to be a historic draft, too.
Like, I was talking to somebody the other day about Mac Jones, and I was like, I wonder why Sean wasn't kind of interested in Mac Jones.
Me too.
Like, really good processor, accurate with the football. And they were just like, he's a backup, dude. He is literally a backup. And a lot of things were exposed in New England. I'm so surprised he was ever considered a first-round pick. And I'm like, wow. And that got us on the conversation of like, and I said to this to you before the show started, the same person in the same conversation. They're one of the quarterback valuers I really trust. He was like, 10 years ago, probably 2 of these guys would go in the first round.
For this year?
For this year's draft. And he's like, but they're so quarterback needy. The turnovers so frequent that these guys keep getting pushed up. There's plenty of teams that have a second-round grade on J.J. McCarthy.
Wow.
That was going to be my question for you.
Wow.
It's like based off of even that last draft and how guys were evaluated, and we see how it played out. How is J.J. McCarthy moving up the ranks with less productivity than some of those guys had? Like, how is he now seen as a first-round pick? I'm trying to understand it.
Todd, you sound exactly like a couple of the phone calls I had. One of them was like, he's a quarterback coach in the NFC, and he's like, I keep going over the film, and I'm like, am I nuts? Like, what is everybody seeing that I'm not seeing? This dude is a second-round pick. Like, I don't. If you're the third option on your team offensively, how are you a top 5 pick?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I get it. I know the way Harbaugh plays. I know they want, but if you're a top 5 talent, you should be showcased within your college offense, right? Like, it's
At some point.
Yeah.
Unless the rare case which JJ has is like he did everything he was asked. 27-1 as a starter, including a national championship.
I know, but the same people were telling me, like, and I get this, and you can spin. This is why the scouting process and the evaluation process is so wild. You can spin it whatever direction favors your opinion.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
So he's sitting here saying, because he's saying he's a second-round pick, he's going, 2 years ago, they wanted to come out early in the season at Michigan and throw the football, and they were like, let's get back to running the football. Okay. And then there was a stretch where this past year where they were like, let's cut JJ loose a little bit. Let's go back to running the football. If
Okay,
that
well, then
was
that
the
scares.
case, you would have stuck with him running your entire offense. This gets
Fair.
us back to the same conversation that this is what John Beck told me in that same one when I was asked about JJ, and Todd thought it was the greatest comment in the history of this podcast. When I was like, is this called a podcast? I don't know what this is called.
Yeah,
Heck
call it
yeah.
whatever you want.
Where Todd laughed in my face when I told him, J.J. McCarthy is telling all these teams, don't worry, I did loads of 2-minute red zone during practice. It's all we did during practice. Now, they didn't have me do it in the games, but I was so good in practice in 2-minute and red zone. And that's literally what they are banking on. I think, Todd, one of the things that has been told to me repeatedly is he's just aced this latter part of the process, which is the visits, the interviews. They've been phenomenal. His pro day, a lot of people, and this is similar to what we were saying, they were wowed by the pro day. You know why? Because they haven't seen him throw it a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like, that's why they were like,
Oh, he can
guys
throw.
were like, I haven't seen him throw live, or I haven't seen him throw that throw, because they don't do that. He
Yeah.
doesn't do it. Like he throws it a handful of times a game. Oh, he can really throw it. It's like, well, no, you never really saw him throw it. So that's what wowed you.
Right.
And that's why it's really last week, not this week, but last week is really when a lot of teams go back. I had a GM tell me this. He's like, that's when you go back and you look at the film again, because the interview process, those things, the visits, you can fall in love with a guy and you start thinking way more highly of him than go back and watch a tape and go, well, actually, he's really back down here. We just love the interview. Like, it's all puzzle pieces, right?
Yep.
And JJ has really aced this aspect of it. Doesn't mean he won't be good. Like, there's some people that think he's really good. There's other people that think he is a second-round pick. He's not alone in this draft. Like, there is no, and we broke him down earlier, there's no Trevor Lawrence in this draft. Like Andrew Luck type player. I know Caleb Williams has generational arm talent, ridiculous arm talent. There are some things that teams are like, I have no idea how this dude's going to leave the locker room. Like, no clue. Like,
Yep.
showed up a day late to the combine. The teams that met with him on that first day were just like, I guess we're not meeting with Caleb. Just didn't go to them. it's just some weird, quirky things. Now, the arm talent's out of this world. Like, some of the throws, you're like, the tape's nuts. But nobody's like a slam dunk out of these quarterbacks. There's things with all of them. And if you're going to give up all this capital, if you're the Broncos, for the fourth option, that's kind of scary. Like, you trade away multiple first-round picks to get to 4, and you're picking the fourth quarterback? That's
we're starting to dive into this and what the Broncos are going to do. And really quick, James, before we get into more of this Broncos draft talk, your comment about J.J. McCarthy's practice is brought up multiple times a week on this show. So,
We
yes,
love it.
it is
I'm
a
glad that's
fantastic
stuck.
comment.
I'm glad that's stuck.
Absolutely.
'Cause I guarantee, like, as a player, Todd's like, this is a goddamn joke.
Because it doesn't make sense. Even right now, I was looking up like, great running backs and great running games in college. Think about like Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. Reggie Bush was all world, maybe one of the best running backs to ever play the game. But Matt Leinart was still featured
Big time.
because he had an arm and he had talent.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, if you are talented, a top 5 pick, you're going to be featured at some point.
The
throughout
offense
the year.
has to be like, the offensive coordinator and whoever's in the offense be like, this is a top 5 talent.
Yes.
And we are not going to rely on him in any capacity.
This is crazy.
This is nuts. I agree with Todd. Like, it's totally true.
It's such a good point. And JJ's not just talked about as a first rounder. He's talked about like maybe the 2nd overall pick, 3rd overall pick. And let's dive into the draft after I tell you about our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. We talk about floors and ceilings a lot when we talk about prospects. You got to talk about your roof with the hail season coming.
great point.
And maybe we're still one more snowstorm left for us this year. And you got to check out our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing, where they have quality materials, decades of experience, quick response time, Colorado's best estimators and contractors, free obligation roof property and inspections, and free in-depth photo reports for all of your inspections. Plus, they're DNVR supporters, so you know that you can trust them. We've given our stamp of approval on them, and you can talk Denver sports with them. So if you want a free inspection, make sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing, where you can visit them over at redhawkroofing.com, and make sure to tell them that DNVR sent you.
And shout out to our friends at Coors Light, the only beer that is made to chill. And they were especially helpful yesterday because, I'm always rooting for the Nuggets, want them to do good. But I was a little stressed down 20.
How could you not be?
So I definitely had a fewer Coors Light. They definitely helped me chill. And, at the end of the day, we found a way to get it done.
Then you celebrated with some Coors Lights after the game.
Absolutely.
goodness.
Absolutely. Can't go wrong. And if you want Coors Light delivered straight to your door, you can get it through Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Remember to celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
At what point did you guys question if the Nuggets were going to win that game?
I'd probably say when there was a point where we were like, mid-third quarter, and we're like, Jokic hasn't had a bucket since the first quarter. And everything was rimming out. Like, everything was halfway down.
Everything, yep.
And then don't you start thinking, Todd, like, this is one of those games then.
Yep.
Like, this is just going to be one of those games. That's when at that third quarter point when everything just, like, they had open looks and things were halfway down.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, that's fine. It's a 7. It's a series. We're fine.
Yeah.
But no.
When D'Angelo Russell, who was so bad last year in the Lakers-Nuggets series, when he was hot, I was like, you know what? Just let him stay hot and get all this false confidence for the next 3 games, and the Nuggets will just end up winning the next 3. But what an ending.
LeBron was not happy about that Buckeye getting smacked in the face.
Goodness. Oh, he walked off his press conference.
He wasn't happy
he
about
was
the
done.
Sixers game either. I'm like, that's not even the game you're playing in, Bron. And he was like, this Sixers game, what are we doing? I'm like, wow, how's he already know about everything with the Sixers game?
An all-time ending walk-off moment
awesome.
for Jamal and the
Awesome,
Nuggets.
for sure.
It was awesome.
Okay, so let's jump into this. And, of course, you guys know our draft coverage is brought to you by Raising Cane's. Check them out. Download the app to order online or through their app. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love. Okay, so, James, what do we need to know about how the league is viewing these quarterbacks right now? Because I think you pointed it out, and it's so important to there's so many ebbs and flows with the quarterback market heading into a draft. And I think right now, as you said, this is kind of when things settle down to what they're going to be like heading into the draft. So where do we sit with these guys?
All right, one's locked in.
Yep.
Commanders, from my understanding, nothing's really for sale.
Because of Jayden? Or do you think
I think
it could
because
go a different way?
they know. No, yeah, I think they have made up their mind.
Okay.
Teams, listen, again, we've had this conversation before. Nobody in Washington is going to tell anybody what they're thinking.
Yep.
Teams around the league believe it's because they like Jayden Daniels, and that's their pick, and then we'll move on. Now, they have less of a decision to make. Everybody knows it's Caleb Williams, so they're deciding there. Now, when I say less of a decision, that means what to do with their pick. They have the ability to hold on to it, and that's what they're going to do. The third pick is different because if New England doesn't get the quarterback that they like, those are very different players. I mean, Drake Maye, in a lot of teams' eyes, is a project. I mean, like a legitimate project. If it works out, it could be, I'm not saying it could be Josh Allen, but like people have made that comp. There's issues with him seeing things, reading the field, but he's young. He's like really young. A lot of people see that fitting in New England. You could play Jacoby Brissett right away. So if it goes Jayden Daniels too, a lot of people think they'll stick and take Drake Maye. But also, I would say that team is in somewhat of a similar spot as the Broncos in terms of roster and the rebuild turnover that they're going to have to go through. A boatload of picks isn't the worst thing in the world either if you don't love Drake Maye. Yeah. Right? So then you sit down, then you move down to 4. 4 is definitely for sale. Monty Osborne is definitely listening to everything because he thinks he can probably move out of 4 and still get one of these top 3 receivers. And I've had long conversations with my receiver buddy Steve Smith about this, and Steve's like, it doesn't matter which one of those guys you get. Like, they're all... He's like, in a Steve Smith analogy, he's like, you're cruising down PCH with your top down no matter which guy you get. Like, they're all good.
Life is good.
Life is good. So, like, if they want to move back out of 4, then you could go quarterbacks 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, who goes up to 4? We know Minnesota is poised with the ammunition they have to do that for sure. And I can see, I'm having all these knocks on J.J. McCarthy. I could see him working out in Minnesota for sure.
Definitely.
I think that makes sense in a lot of people's eyes. I mean, you have 2 great receivers. It's the best team to walk into as a rookie quarterback. I think every agent is, if they represented one of these quarterbacks, was like, I want my guy to go to Minnesota.
Not just this year. Like, maybe
KO is a great
long.
play caller, great play designer. I've talked to Justin Jefferson a bunch about him, like in the way he designs things up, and it's him and Jordan Addison. You have a great play caller, good offensive. I think
Great
McCarthy,
tight end.
great tight. I think McCarthy could really thrive there because he doesn't. Again, he's in a situation where he doesn't put the team on his shoulders a whole lot. And Kevin solves so many things for you pre-snap as well. So then, does Denver have the ammunition to get up to get McCarthy? Do they feel the same way about McCarthy as another team? My guess would be they don't. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
The opinion around the league is you would make this group of, say, the Raiders, the Broncos, and in turn the Falcons. Falcons.
But can you explain that to me? Because I have heard a
Vikings.
lot of Falcons talk with potentially being still in on a quarterback. To me, an outsider's, but that makes no sense. They just paid Kirk.
I think I haven't talked to a whole lot of people down there, but I would say your thinking would be this. Kirk's 36 coming off an Achilles.
Yep.
You got an owner that has come so close to the Super Bowl, to where the one I was at in Houston, he had come down in the 4th quarter to stand on the sideline with his team. Yet Brady comes back down 28-3 and wins it. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of seasons left. He is like, let's just stock up. That would be my thought. And it's like, the rest of the roster is pretty good.
Yeah.
And if they don't love Dallas Turner, who everybody has them mocked to at 8, because there's plenty of teams I've talked to that are like, there is not a top 10 defensive player in this draft. Literally, not on a board, on a lot of teams' boards, do they have a defensive player in the top 10.
Wow.
So if you're Atlanta, you're like, the guy's sitting there.
Yeah.
We'll take him.
Sure. That makes sense.
I do know they like, I don't know if they'll take it. I think them, Raiders, Broncos, a lot of teams are like, I can see all of them liking Penix. And Penix is the most fascinating guy of this whole draft.
I want to ask, like, what is, I guess, the knock on Penix? I know he's had injury, but as far as like his ability to see the field, his accuracy,
anticipation.
I don't understand why he hasn't been able to go up draft boards. Kind of seems like he's kind of sitting there, end of the 1st round, early 2nd round guy. Took a Washington team that nobody expected to make it to the college football playoffs. Didn't have a great game his last game. Everybody has one bad game.
Yeah,
but I don't know why he's not getting that push that these other guys are.
So there's one like reason for that, Todd, that some people around the league that I talk to feel is
it's the do-rag.
It's the do-rag. No, you know what it is? They like him. So do not talk about him. There's teams that want him to fall to him. There are multiple teams I know of that are in love with Michael Penix.
Yep.
And they're like, like, I don't want him going up the board. I don't want people like raving about this dude. A lot of times when things go quiet on a player is because there's a couple teams that are like, please fall to us. Like, we're in love with this guy. He blew teams away in his workouts. I know that. He's not the mobile guy. And I know everybody, and we talked about this before we started, like everybody's looking for Mahomes, and Josh Allen runs around, and Lamar just won the MVP, and he's mobile, and the escapability in today's game with so many things breaking down. Like, I think he rushed for like 8 yards last year. No,
That's
That's
wild.
not an exaggeration.
That's
I think
wild.
it was
Yeah,
like 8. So he might not have the style that a lot of teams are looking for, but one team pointed this out to me. They're like, dude, he had 1,800 dropbacks in his college career. You know how many times he was sacked? 31.
Wow.
Dang.
Like, who cares if he's not escaping everybody? The dude sees everything. Like you mentioned, he throws with anticipation. He finds guys. He doesn't get locked in on a receiver. That's one of the knocks that J.J. McCarthy has with some teams, is that he gets locked in on what his first read is. Penix can just find different guys all over the field, and he can spin it. Like, he can really spin it. So I think the quietness might be there's a couple teams, and those teams I mentioned, whether it's Vegas or whether it's Denver, that are like, this guy, keep him on platform, have him go through his progressions. Like, this would be great for us where we're picking. That's the other part we have to remember. You may love a guy, but you love a guy picking him at 12. Like, Denver might be like, if Penix is there at 12, oh my, we will be the happiest team on the planet. Turn the card in immediately. But we're not moving up to 4 for Penix. Like that, you know what I mean? So you value players, and you value on what they're worth within that spot in the draft.
So fair to say that you don't think
Penix
falls.
is going in the first round.
First round.
Yeah.
Yep. Man,
we
when
go.
you were saying that the sack thing is so important for Sean Payton, because at the owners' meetings,
That dude ran a 4.5 at his pro day.
he did, which is wild.
I mean, he doesn't run. He doesn't want to run.
Yeah. At the owners' meetings, Sean was asked, what do you need to do to score more points on offense? And he pretty much just, without saying Russell Wilson's name, said, we need to do everything that Russell Wilson didn't do, the opposite of that. And one of them was, we need to take fewer sacks. Michael Penix is not a
Doesn't
guy
take sacks.
that takes sacks. That is a huge bonus for him in Sean's eyes. And then to relate to Zach Wilson took even more sacks than Russell Wilson. So it's interesting there, but that's
So
a huge bonus.
That's a huge bonus, but then people would, like I said, this evaluation process, flip it the other side. The dude doesn't get out of anything, and nothing is clean in the NFL, Todd, right? Like, how many clean pockets do you have in the NFL? How often is things exactly as you drew it up offensively? Like, all right, can he thrive in that? I know Todd brought up everybody has one bad game. I'm with him on that, but the recency bias that some people have is like, well, that was the most pro-style defense he probably faced, and he looked confused. I'm like, you know how many, like, Pro Bowlers look confused, like, from time to time when they get wrinkles and things given to them? You know, I just know that there are a lot of teams that really, really like him and would love for him to fall to their team. And then I think that's the 5, right? I don't know if Bo Nix goes in the first round.
okay.
And the difficult, to change gears for a second real quick though, but the difficult spot the Broncos are in is like, they don't have the option to be like, we'll just trade up with our second round pick into the back end of the first. No, we don't. You don't have a second round pick.
Right.
So you might overdraft. Say they trade back out of 12 and Penix is still available and they're sitting there at like 17 or 18. Then it's like, ooh, this would be great. You get Penix like there. That would be awesome. I don't know if he'll be available back then.
Yeah.
But he's a first round pick in a lot of teams' eyes.
Yep.
The medical is, some teams worry, 2 ACLs in the same knee. Shoulders aren't as much of a concern. Every team evaluates medicals differently. Some are just pass-fail. He passes by some on some people's minds. But some coaches just want to hear, like, does he pass the medical? Yeah. Okay, that's all I need to hear.
That's good.
And
Yep.
they don't care. Other teams are much different in it. But maybe that's one of the other knocks. Maybe he's a lefty. There's not a lot of, it doesn't come around very
Yeah.
often.
Yeah.
Some people think the throwing motion's a little low, so over in the middle of the field, balls can get batted. But I don't know. I think he throws a really good ball, can put it pretty much anywhere on the field.
Yeah.
And
So then, James, is that what the Broncos should do in the draft with
I think
Zach Wilson?
my opinion, it doesn't mean shit, honestly, but like, other teams really think he would work with Sean Payton. Because I just ask everybody, like, all right, Penix, who do you think he'd work with? I think the Raiders would like him. I think Denver would like him. You know, that's what these quarterback evaluators are like. They know all these other coaches so well. They're like, I think so-and-so would really like him. There's definitely people that think Sean would like Penix.
So I want your final guess and opinion on what the Broncos should do after I tell you that you should download the Circle K Inner Circle app, where they're just handing out free money. First 5 fill-ups over at Circle K, you're going to get 25 cents off a gallon. Your first 5 Polar Pops are going to be free, and every 6th item, such as pizzas, roller grills, dispensed beverages, donuts, and so much more, is also going to be free. And right now, they're actually going to just give out free Polar Pops. If you text DNVR to 31310, that's DNVR to 31310, you are going to get a free Polar Pop of any size. Messages and data rates may apply. Periodic recurring messages per month. Terms and conditions can be viewed at CircleK.com. Sign up with the QR code on our screen right now, or visit CircleK.com/inner-circle for more information.
And shout out to Volo Sports. If you love getting out, meeting new people, playing sports, especially with the good weather to come, you need to check out Volo Sports. Right now, they have their premier monthly membership program that gives members unlimited access to sports, events, and social activities every night of the week. You don't want to miss out. You can go sign up on the Volo app using code DNVR3 to get the Volo Pass for only $10 a month for the first 3 months.
Will it be a quarterback, James, for the Broncos in the first round? Putting you on the hot seat.
I hate to say it, I don't think it's going to fall that way. Like I said, I don't think they're the only ones looking.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the hard part. I do love that Harbaugh's like pushing McCarthy. I think that's playing a part too. Like pushing his quarterback so well, because like what happens if that's the case? He has the first pick of the draft.
Right.
At 5.
Yep.
If he's like, get my boy, it's the best pro day I've ever seen. It's the greatest player I've ever seen. Then that he's like trying to get quarterbacks to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Harbaugh's like, start my NFL career over again with the first pick in the draft, because I don't need a quarterback, and I get the best player on our board. That's Anyway,
and they get Marvin Harrison Jr. to help replace Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Yeah, Marv, man, so good. Marv or Neighbors, or some people have Odunze. Like it's right there. So.
Marv has to be your number 1 receiver, right? Yeah, come on. OSU.
No. The one reason I've been given by some teams of why Neighbors is ahead of Marvin is that explosive plays are just gone in the NFL right now. With the way this Vic Fangio style of defense that is spread throughout the league, like has taken explosives away, you need guys that can create them in a variety of ways. Neighbors can create you explosive plays in a variety of ways. Marv's not really like running completely away by anybody. I will say this: every catch he gets another like 8 yards or 7 yards on every catch.
I'll take that.
I would take that too, but like he's not taking it splitting it. Like no matter what the angle the safety has, Neighbors is gone. Right. Like you know, what I mean, that's not Marvin. So that's one of the reasons why.
He's not the Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
sort of
that's
player.
why some of the people have Neighbors above. But I don't know if it's the worst case scenario if they don't, like, because I think it is true. You have to get the right guy. And these guys are, we've been talking about, these guys are not all similar, not even close to being similar. So they're very different. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if you got like Brock Bowers at 12 and you go out there and try to Stidham or Zach Wilson, and those don't even work out. You still have Brock Bowers for whoever's going to be maybe your rookie quarterback the next season. You know what I mean? Some people think that's too early for like an edge. True. But they could have their pick of the best defensive player on the board at 12.
Because of the talent there, it might be a little too early still.
Because quarterbacks, like, say it's not the quarterback that they want. And that 4 quarterbacks, possibly 5, go ahead of them at 12. Plus the receivers. Plus we didn't even mention them at all, the tackles. Like Joe Alt's probably going to go 5 in a lot of people's minds to the Chargers. You could have your pick of the best defensive player. I don't know if you're going after a corner, but if you want Turner, you want Verse, or you want Latu, like
James, I think you laid it out perfectly, because as much as I want them to get a quarterback in the first round,
you hate to say it, they're in a good spot, actually.
Yeah. And I don't want them to just get a quarterback to get a quarterback. It does have to be the right guy, and if that right guy's not there, Brock Bowers, to me, probably is a dream pick.
He helps
for
whoever
them
the quarterback
now.
is.
Yeah, I think he's a top 5 player in this draft. He helps the quarterback this year. He helps your rookie next year. And if they don't get a quarterback in the first round this year, it does tell me that there's going to be this is a bigger rebuild than really anyone thought, because it's going to go into next year. And then it's pretty clear. Quarterback round 1 next year, or a big trade or a big free agent signing next year is the move. And that's okay. That's okay. That's something that the Broncos refused to do for a long time, was truly rebuild. And if they decide to not go quarterback, that's better than taking Bo Nix just to take a quarterback. And actually, that's one thing that I do trust Sean Payton. He's not going to take a quarterback because he feels like he has to, because he has Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham on his team.
I've changed my mind.
You're out on Penix?
I want a quarterback no matter what.
Yes.
I've lived through the ringer. Personally, I've been on the squad.
Yep.
Having different quarterbacks start in 1 year, and it's not fun. And I think
There's
there
one
is
right there.
talent. There is talent that will be there at 12. So I want a quarterback. We know this is a quarterback-driven league. I think Brock Bowers is a phenomenal player, but for him to come out and have a 400-yard season when he could have had 1,000 yards with a good quarterback, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just think it's a disservice to him. So
He does need to
quarterback
be in the
now.
right spot. That's another thing that's around the league is like, if the offensive coordinator is not creative enough, like, damn, that's a waste of talent in Brock Bowers. That's why some people are like, sorry, Nate, I love you, but like, don't go to the Jets. Have you seen Hackett be that creative with somebody like that? I can see Sean doing wonders with Brock Bowers. Like, he could play Michael Thomas's role. He could be that slot and sit there and run those curls and run those. Like, he could do so many different things for you in making your offense better. But I see what Todd's saying too. It's like, some people are like, just keep throwing darts at quarterbacks.
Yeah, and that's
I mean,
why
but
the Zach Wilson one is a dart that doesn't cost much.
It's a
but
cheap dart.
If you don't have a quarterback, you better be doing everything you can to go find that guy. And you talk about Sean with tight ends. He's had Jimmy Graham. He's had Jeremy Shockey. He's had Witten.
He was great there at
with
the start of
Cowboys.
Shockey's career.
Yeah, so he knows how, especially young tight ends. He knows how to develop them really well. But Todd, I totally see what you're saying as well. So Michael Penix is gone. Bo Nix, you okay with him at 12?
No, Michael Penix has to be there. I think that's
If
the other part of my equation.
I would be super stoked if they got Penix at 12. But that's going to be the hard part of this draft. Like, and that's what's going to be on Payton and Payton, the law firm of Payton and Payton.
Yep.
Like, how do they evaluate this? Like, is somebody going to jump you? If Penix starts getting closer to you, you know you value your picks. You're in a rebuild. Like, you have to have your picks. But, like, what if somebody just jumped? Like, what if the Jets want to slide back? But, you know, they don't have a boatload of needs. And, like, is it not exactly who they want? They can go back, like, right. You got the Raiders right there.
Yeah, that's a tough spot.
The Vikings right there.
Yep.
Do you have to get ahead of 11? Like, it's a really... I think Atlanta wouldn't mind trading back, honestly. Because if everybody's like, they have everything on defense. I mean, everything on offense. Yeah. And they don't want to pick a defense player in the top 10. Like, oh, we'll slide back from 8.
Pick up a future second or an extra third this year.
Yeah,
or
and then get the
something.
defensive guy we want. Like, it's a back to value, like we were saying. Do they like Dallas Turner? I don't know. I've heard they're not super keen on Dallas Turner. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe they like him. But maybe they like him at 15, and they don't like him at 8.
Yep.
Like, can we get back? Then maybe the Broncos can get to 8. Like, but you're jockeying with everybody right next to you. And they have different amounts of ammo. That's going to be the hard part for Denver.
The Broncos Raiders at 12 and 13, especially if they both are interested in Michael Penix. Like, it seems like the Falcons, the Jets at 10,
Who you got?
you can use those two teams against each other so well. I mean, we did it last
Big time,
week
yep.
in one of our mocks, and we had the Broncos Raiders competing, and you can just drive that price up because not only is it a team in your division, it's for a quarterback, and neither teams love their quarterback situation right now. Oh, the Falcons, those teams in the 8, 9, 10, I don't think Minnesota's going to be at 11. They're going to love that competition.
Yeah, why would Chicago be opposed to moving out of 9? Unless they're in love with maybe a receiver or
I was going to say, if one of those top 3 receivers falls, maybe.
Yeah, then they go and get it. But, like, if not, like, why wouldn't you move back if you're Chicago?
Yeah.
Just a few. And you're only going back probably from, like, those teams, 8, 9, 10. You're going back to either 11, 12, or 13.
Yeah,
you're still probably going to get your guy because you know they're going up for who you're not interested in. You don't need a quarterback.
Yep.
Boom, go back. It's like, so they're going to sit there and play them all against each other if you're a good GM.
Yep, man, it's going to be fat. We are 2 days
But
away.
most of these, I will say this, most of these trades will be happening while the teams are on the clock.
Right.
These aren't going to go down beforehand, most likely.
Because you have to know who's on the board.
Exactly.
Unless you're the number 1 overall pick, and obviously the Bears know exactly what they're doing with that
Exactly.
pick. James, any big surprises that you could see happening? Like, who's a team or a player that we need to keep our eye on for something unexpected? Because we know, like, if the Vikings trade up to 4, that's kind of expected if they make a big move. Is there anything, any team or any player that we need to keep our eyes on that falls, that rises?
Team, I'd keep an eye on Philly moving up big time. That's not like speaking out of school
or
always.
like,
I mean, some people link to receiver because
oh my goodness,
AJ Brown could be, he's on the back end of his contract. They just paid Smitty, who a lot of people believe is a 1. So that guy is a 3 this year and maybe your 2 next year. You can see that. Howie doesn't really take corners in the first round, but they desperately need a corner. They've had pretty much every one of the top 10 corners in their building for visits, and maybe they have one that they want to get their eye on.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we're going to be the most surprised with is the number of receivers that go in the first round.
Because there's that run in the top 10 of 3 of them.
You got the 3, and then it's like whatever your flavor is of like the next 7, what I'm told. A lot of people think 14 will go in the first 2 rounds.
Wow.
14 or 15.
Wow. That's wild.
That's nuts.
That is wild.
I think that really bodes well for teams in the back end of the draft that don't want a receiver.
Yeah.
You're pick of what you want. So the main thing we'll have to keep an eye on is how quickly the tackles go, because there's like that group that's really good, and then there's like nothing.
Yeah.
And how trades go. That's going to be the biggest thing to watch too, because like the back end of this draft, like when I say back end, like 5th, 6th, 7th, there's just not a lot of talent in teams' eyes. There's not a lot of guys came out. NIL is keeping kids in school because they're like, I'll make money for another year. Like, I'll do it. They only had 58 underclassmen come out this year. I think they had like 130 last year.
Holy cow.
I think it was an NFL record. So like not a lot of underclassmen came out. So there's going to be guys picked in the 5th round that teams have like free agent grade on.
Wow.
So I was just in the wrong draft, huh?
You're in the wrong draft, huh?
Dang.
That means you hit free agency 1 year earlier, though.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Final question for you, James and Todd. I want your opinion on this. Do any Broncos players get traded during the draft? The one that is just the highlight is Pat Surtain. I don't think he's getting moved. But Courtland Sutton, with him not showing up at the offseason workouts last week, his name is maybe still in question right now.
You don't see players moved on draft day very often. It's usually just picks. I don't think I see it unless they feel like, hey, we really got to get quarterback X, and we don't care who we package to get that quarterback. I don't really see it. I think the receivers, the value of trading one, you've seen that plummet. Like T. Higgins can't get a deal done with anybody. I don't think you're going to get a lot for Court. I mean, like look at last year they wanted a 1 for Jerry.
Yeah.
How quickly has all the receiver market changed?
Yeah.
In that sense, so I don't really see anybody getting dealt, but I don't know, who knows?
Especially with a deep wide receiver class in the draft, then it devalues that position.
They had a deep draft class 2 years ago and last year and this year. And if you ask people, they'll say, and next year and the year after that. And there's just receivers come out every year, lots of them.
Yep. So it makes inside linebackers even more valuable,
Hey,
right?
you know what I'm
Not a
saying?
dime a dozen.
Somebody got to cover
Will
receivers,
we get an inside
tight ends, running
linebacker in the
backs.
first round? Possibly, maybe one. I don't know.
Oh, hey,
No,
there's that one guy that's supposed to be pretty
Payton?
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's teams that definitely say he's a first round talent. There's
Yeah.
some other question marks, but talent wise, there's definitely plenty of teams that think he's a first round guy.
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean's going to be a really interesting one because you need a plan from talking to teams. Like if you just play him at corner on the outside on 3rd down, like he's cooked. But like if you have a plan for him to be, nobody made this comp. I kind of did. It was like a Tyrann Mathieu, like play him all over, use his smarts, play inside, tackles, play outside, play a little safety. Like if you have a cool plan for him, a creative defensive coordinator, he can be really, really good pick. But that also sometimes, right, Todd, limits your suitors if you have a unique set of skills.
yeah.
Right. And we love your set of skills, James. Thanks so much for rocking and rolling with us today, for all of your insight. Todd and I will be back
love the
tomorrow.
uniforms.
We need the uniform.
There was one of there. What was James saying? Uniforms. I think they're awesome. So my wife is a graphic designer. So the cool part was when the Broncos tweeted out like all of the reasons why these little details were there and there. She was like in heaven about that. She's a diehard Broncos fan. So she was in heaven about that. But like, I want to know if Pat's going to be like, Can he get like what's the award for like a promotional video for acting? I think Surtain was on fire driving that new Bronco outside with the old Bronco. Is that thing for sale? Can we all bid on that old Bronco? That thing was awesome. Bronco convertible.
So cool.
Yeah.
I think they're sweet. I do. I like them. I like the. Well, obviously the throwback is like number one. That thing is just incredible.
Yep. Should they have made that their jersey?
Yeah, like wear that for every game.
Yeah.
Thing was fantastic. But I like them. I think they're really good. Houston just came out with theirs today, and I think they're a little more like XFL and Jamie Foxx was rocking them. Right? Did you feel that like
Any Given Sunday vibe,
Any Given
yeah.
Sunday? Yeah, they had a little Any Given Sunday to them. I think Denver's look sweet. I like them.
Todd, you were actually at the,
weren't you there?
the celebration yesterday. What was the feedback like?
I think pretty much everybody kind of digged them. A lot. There was like tons of jerseys being sold. So
Really?
They definitely sold a lot of
Wilson
them last
through.
night.
Did they come out with any Wilsons?
I didn't see
get it done in
Wilsons.
time.
No, I don't think that was on the.
What
on the docket.
could you tell one that was flying off more than
Of course,
the others?
Pat.
No, like a style. They had all three, right? I would
Yeah,
assume?
the orange though.
Yeah.
The orange was definitely like the highlight of the night.
I'm very disappointed in the Broncos for not hooking you up with a brand new
Man, I needed one.
Todd Davis jersey.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I know.
That was
And
messed up.
The thing about it is they were making them at the stadium. I didn't even know. I probably would have just went over there and got me one.
Yeah.
They should have. You know what I'm saying? I'll make some calls. See what I can do.
Damani Leach yesterday said he saw how the fans just love the throwbacks, and he said that was never in consideration to be their primary jersey. They never considered it. They wanted something modern. They wanted a fresh look. And it was interesting because
But that's not anybody's standard jersey. In
the
league.
throwbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would want Tampa's to be the creamsicle.
Right.
They're not gonna do that.
And as I heard from someone in the building yesterday, a throwback's a throwback because it's a throwback.
Yeah, it's actually
not because it's your primary one.
Now you can go the route like the Lions kind of did, which was like paying homage like with your new version to like the old look, which was a cool like middle of the road way to do
Yeah.
it. I thought those looked pretty sweet, but then you don't get the real throwback version.
Right.
yeah.
So I'm glad you like the uniforms.
I love them.
Love
there's-
your insight.
There's all new swag too. Like Damani was there last night, and they have like all new jackets, hoodies. Like everything's completely different. A lot of 5280 stuff too.
They really pushed that hard, like
stuff.
on the jersey here, and then on the
Yeah.
helmets up top.
Yep.
And
Yeah. And like you said, like half the gear, whether it's T-shirts or hoodies or 5280
Yeah.
across it.
Yeah.
Really rocking with that.
There's a lot of people from Albuquerque that were upset. I was reading the comments. They're like, we have a higher altitude and we don't brag about it all the time. We don't have a football team.
A lot of fans don't really love the 5280. They think
Why?
it's more of like an outsider's perspective on it.
I don't know. Did you ever feel like guys on the field ever say anything from another team?
About the altitude?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can see it change in them like third, fourth quarter. You can see they're getting tired. But we never talked about 5280.
No, you don't yell 5280 at the others.
You like that?
Because they have it on their helmets now, right on
Yeah,
the
it's
front.
right on the
5280.
front of the helmet.
And-
It's right on the.
And Damani said, it's respect of Mile High and everything, and then it's also a reminder to the opponents when they see it on our helmet that they're a mile high above. And I was like, wonder if one player will ever think that. See that? And be
They get
like,
down
oh,
a 3-point
damn,
stance
you're
and they're
right.
like,
Yeah.
I was feeling all right.
Yeah, shit, now I'm
No,
gassed.
I'm completely exhausted. The last note I'll make is I thought it was really cool with the names, how they kind of rounded the letters to be similar to all of our national park signs in the state. You know, like how like the each letter of everybody's name, it's kind of like the corners are a little bit rounded in the very same form that the signs of like all the national parks are.
I did not pick up on that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't come to that conclusion myself. They put that out there.
Yeah.
But
No,
it was
I didn't.
pretty
I didn't
cool.
even- yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of details
Yeah.
in this. A lot
That
of
was cool.
triangles, too.
A lot of triangles.
Tons
Lots of triangles.
Also,
Ventilation triangles apparently are also
yeah. Did you guys know that heated coats are a thing?
heated coats.
Heated coats. Like
No.
electric heated coats.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either until the
Smart.
Broncos were selling them yesterday. Yeah, that's wild.
Most photographers shooting NFL games on the sidelines are wearing heated vests underneath their heated coat. Underneath their coat.
Wow.
They
That
just
is,
plug in USB just like that, and you just drop all the little heaters on all the spots of the coat.
That's too cool.
Yeah, because these guys are freezing out there. They're not moving. Like Todd's running
Right,
in these
right.
freezing cold
Still
games.
cold.
And he's still cold. They're sitting in one spot just like this. Like
Yeah.
that's got to be so cold.
So you're telling me they're not as tough as I thought they were?
The photographers?
Yeah. 'Cause they're using electricity.
Dude. Use the electricity.
Yeah, I'm all about that too.
Todd's not going to be on the sign like, no, I don't want a helmet warmer.
Yeah, don't
No.
keep that heater on me.
No, if there's like a young player's helmet on there, we're throwing that off. We gotta get that warm.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Make sure to tune in tomorrow where we give our final predictions and drop our final mock draft. Thank you so much for rolling with us. Hit us with a thumbs up on your way out.